I'm not quite as nervous as I was last time, so hopefully I can be somewhat coherent in our meeting here today. The first thing that I would like for everyone to do is to just stand up and cheer me on so that I can get through this by 4 o'clock. Everybody stand up. Say, go Alice, go Alice. Everybody has to be standing, remain standing, remain standing. We'll wait for everyone to stand. Okay. If you have been able to successfully log into iObservation, please sit down. Okay, now we know who we need to deal with. Okay, we'll have Ann make sure she gets you taken care of in the morning. Thank you. That was a quick way to monitor a whole group of people at one time to see where they stand. Or sit. Okay, you have 3 different handouts. One is a pretty color of what we call the learning map. And you should also have a black and white copy on another group of handouts. If you would just take a look at the Learning Map page, I wanted to give you a quick overview of what Dr. Marzano's framework is. It's the art and science of learning here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see these tiny words on the screen, so I wanted to give you a pretty copy to hold in your hand. Marzano's Art and Science of Teaching, the Teacher Evaluation Model, takes Dr. Marzano's 41 elements of teaching in Domain 1 and structures them into 3 specific groups. And those 3 specific groups are called lesson segments involving routine events. Those are things like your learning goals and scales, how are you going to assess your students, how are you going to track their progress. That's something that you do on a routine basis. And establishing your rules and procedures in your classroom, that's another thing that you do on a routine basis. So it's structured underneath a category called lesson segments involving routine events. The second area is lesson segments addressing content. And you'll see 3 different broad categories under lesson segment addressing content. And I'll go into a little more detail of each one of these here in a few minutes. And the third group is lesson segments enacted on the spot. Those are the things that you're dealing with. You're kind of playing that tango, with your students every day, and how you deal with the moment-to-moment interactions in your classroom. So this page consists of the 41 elements or the 41 specific teaching strategies in Domain 1. The second page, I think it's on the back. Yeah, it's on the back. These are Domains 2, 3, and 4. Domain 2, again, this is another broad category, planning and preparing. Those are the things that you do pretty much during your planning period, at home. Domain 3, reflecting on teaching. And Domain 4, collegiality and professionalism. And most of those you can read through the list of strategies and you have a pretty good idea because you're all college graduates and you've all taken classes in teaching and learning. There are some insights in Dr. Marzano's strategies that we've learned that I think go even more in depth into what, beyond what we studied when we were in college. Maybe for some of you who are fresh out of college, you might have had some of these little intricacies about, the learning goals and scales. Very similar to what I learned as learning goals and scales, but very more precise. It's more articulated in a way that is easier for us to understand, but more importantly, articulated in a way for the students to understand and the students to be able to do something with. So it's not about us knowing, it's about the students understanding learning goals and scales and understanding all of the teaching and learning strategies. So within these three broad categories, if we go back to Domain 1, after we had our training, the administrators, we really stopped to think about what is our mission? You know, what are we trying to accomplish when we think about evaluations or going in to observe or helping teachers be the best they can be? And it's just that. Helping all of us helping each other be the best that we can be every day. We don't want our evaluation system to reflect a gotcha kind of scenario. We don't even necessarily want an evaluation system that looks like a model that is, we're just going to give you a status. Like if you think about students getting an A, B, C, or D, you're grading them and you're judging them on what their status is. It's more realistic or more beneficial if we rate people on what their growth is. And so we want to start doing that with teachers and then unfold that and how we deal with students to some degree. It's more about growth, getting people from point A to point B instead of teaching you something, whether you're, you as the teacher or the student or as the students, and saying, gotcha. Well, you didn't comply by doing your homework here, here, and here, so guess what? You get a D. Your status is D, 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 D. Well, maybe that student had zero knowledge to begin with and got a D. Did that student improve, yes or no? Mm-hmm. But yet they're feeling punished because we gave them a status D, 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 D. D, 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 D. So these are the intricacies that we're going to look at that are different in a model today than the model like when I went to college. So, lesson segments involving routine events, addressing content, and enacted on the spot. These are areas that we're going to be looking at a little bit closer. On your PowerPoint, it's probably the 6th slide. We're going to drill down. Of those 3 areas, we're going to take a look at lesson segment involving routine events. Specifically, design question number 1. And I have a check mark there, although it's not really a check mark, it is a square root symbol. But since I don't know how to find a check mark on my computer, I'm pretending like this is a check mark. So go with me. Design question 1. What will I do to establish and communicate learning goals, track student progress, and celebrate success? Now, we're going to go into detail with many workshops in the next weeks to come on this, because as some people have already started working on goals and scales, and you may be thinking, I already do all of that. It's a lot easier. I mean, I think many people are finding it to be a lot easier than what they anticipated. So there will be more to come in terms of details. Remember, this is just for us training today. Okay, we have decided to focus on design question 1 for a reason. In Dr. Marzano's research, and I won't go into a lot of what his research was about, but the majority of his research was meta-research. It was studying and compiling and reporting on other people's research. So they did this various studies, multiple studies, where they took teachers and they corrected their practices. They had them do these particular types of strategies that you would find in design question 1. They had them do these kinds of activities. Excellent. And what they found was the very last one, tracking student progress and scoring scales, that when teachers corrected that and did it to a degree of excellence, this is the impact that it had on student achievement. There was a 34% gain in the effect size a 34% gain from where they started. So it is the single most impactful, I'm not sure that's a word, thing that we can do differently or do to a degree of excellence and have the biggest impact. So it's like we go back to if we can choose one thing to do and do it with extreme excellence, what kind of results will you get? That's why we want you to focus on the one power practice here that we're going to help you with and get you to a degree of excellence in tracking student progress and scoring scales. If we do that and nothing else, we should be able to get a lot of student achievement growth right out of the gate. So we're trying to be fair. We want everybody to be excellent at all of these strategies. But when we're connecting it to an evaluation system, we want to keep it that is more about growth and you doing things well instead of just giving you a status score. So that's why we're trying to narrow it down. And I mean, I use the word more fair, but more precise in what we're trying to affect. So that is why we chose design question 1. I'm going to let I'm so used to saying Dr. Kevy, I almost said Dr. Kevy. I'm going to let Dr. Marzano discuss the interconnected nature of goal setting, tracking student progress, and celebrating student goals.